Let's get more on a story that we just brought you. And Australia's human rights record takes a blow in the latest report by Amnesty International.
The report's just been released and it says Indigenous rights continue to be violated in this country and the treatment of refugees also comes under very strong attack. Claire Mallinson is the National Director of Amnesty International Australia and she joins us now from Sydney. Claire Mallinson, let's start with the treatment of Aborigines in Australia, and this report makes far from pretty reading on that front.
It certainly does, Michael. And really the last year has been a poor performance from Australia in terms of its human rights record. I mean, there has been a few small steps forward, but overall we've seen repackaging of failed policies. And in terms of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, we're still seeing horrific and soaring incarceration rates. You know, the population of Aboriginal people is only about 2.5% in Australia, but yet it's 26% of the prison population. And for juveniles, it's even worse. 50% of all juveniles in prison are Aboriginal.
That sort of finding features fairly regular in your reports, Claire, year in, year out. Does it frustrate you that seemingly based on those intransigent figures that no action is being taken to at least bring down those percentages?
Absolutely, and you know, there's been some excellent recommendations in the past, things like the Royal Commission into Deaths in Custody, and yet we're still not seeing this as a priority for federal and state governments. And what we're also concerned about is that we're seeing implementation potentially of new policies which could make the situation worse. The Stronger Futures bills that are now before the Senate could actually increase incarceration rates rather than reduce them.
And why? I mean, why is this such a bad thing? Of course, the government would argue this would increase children going to school, lessen violence and substance abuse in these communities. There are two sharply different views on how this legislation will work in practice in the communities.
Yeah. Well, the government's own reviews that it's done of the intervention, and that's really what the Stronger Futures Bill about. It's an extension of the intervention policies, are really saying that there isn't evidence that the policies that the government has been operating in the Northern Territory have worked. And they're now looking to have a real stick approach, some really firm policies where, you know, we're seeing suggested that having any kind of alcohol would mean a custodial sentence. We're seeing a real threat to people that their social security payments will be taken away. And these policies are not yet proven. What is proven to work in terms of Aboriginal affairs is when you actually work in partnership with Aboriginal communities, when you sit down and develop bottom-up plans rather than what we're seeing from the government, which is imposed bad policies from the top down.
Now, the report, Claire Mallinson, is also strongly critical of Australia's treatment of detainees. It comes as we get this story that broke on Lateline last night about that High Court challenge against a large number of detainees held indefinitely because they didn't pass ASIO security clearances. How concerned are you about that, and what hope do you see of this High Court challenge succeeding?
Well, Amnesty International has been calling for greater transparency in relation to ASIO. So, you know, we welcome this High Court challenge. I recently met with a family who are in this situation. Very sadly, their son had their first birthday in a refugee camp, their second birthday in Christmas Island, and their third birthday in Villawood. And this family are in total limbo. They could be in detention for the rest of their lives, and at the moment there's no right of appeal for ASIO decisions, and that goes against all forms of justice, and it isn't what's happening in other parts of the world. So we encourage the government to review this situation, to actually ensure there's transparency and to have rights of appeal, just as there are in places like Canada, the UK and New Zealand.
OK, Claire Mallinson from Amnesty, thank you.
Thank you.